I want to share how to save potentially thousands of dollars in your retirement. And I'll actually include an example of a couple that we talked to recently. It's going to blow your mind. And if it doesn't blow your mind, then you're not as big of a nerd as I am. But you probably are already thinking, you might be getting to that point where you realize that it's not just about the savings rate and it's not just about what investments you have that make up a successful plan, but it's also how you're going to use those funds in retirement to make up that plan. Really, in stage one, it was about proper saving, getting the right amount, the right accounts, and saving, getting the right investments. That was the key to a financially secure retirement. But now the game is changing a little bit as we get into, call it stage two, after retirement. It's more about strategic withdrawals from those various accounts. That's the key to financial security, or that's really one of the keys to financial security. But I'd be curious to know if you're thinking this way already. If you are thinking about the next years and how the strategies kind of change in retirement, let me know by, let's put in the Beatles song Taxman, since we're going to be talking about strategic withdrawal and saving on taxes. But anyways, I'll share the big three strategies that you can use to accomplish this. We're going to talk about money pools. So you probably know the big three money pools here, but not everyone uses that fantastic fourth one that we'll talk about. And then the next thing is RMDs, just reducing how much we're forced to take out in the form of required minimum distributions. And then how to use that preferential tax rate of 0% for your assets. And almost anyone can do this, even if you have millions of dollars saved for retirement. We've helped a lot of clients do this. But here's the problem. Conventional wisdom or conventional planning has a way to do withdrawals from accounts when you're retired, after you're retired. And it starts with the taxable income accounts, or just the brokerage accounts, right? And then moving on to tax deferred accounts, and then moving on to your Roth accounts. And this strategy is more designed to allow your retirement funds to grow tax deferred as long as possible, which makes a lot of sense. That maximizes, the goal would be maximize the overall value of your nest egg. However, though, while this approach seems logical and it's practical, it may not always be the most beneficial if you want to reduce how much tax you're going to pay over your lifetime. Because depending on your financial circumstances, a different approach could potentially save you thousands of dollars in taxes, and thereby might even be a better scenario in really extending the life of your retirement savings. And the simple look here, again, is maybe we're not using the taxable brokerage account yet. Maybe we're starting with the pre-tax monies, and it might even be a blend of the two. And I'll give you the scenario of the couple coming up soon. Because thinking this way, it not only benefits you while you're living and how much tax you pay, but it could also benefit your heirs too, if you plan on passing on anything to your kids or to your relatives. I actually speak to a lot of people frequently who are thinking this way, and they're looking for a wealth management team that does more than just investments, right? Yes, they're looking for the investment strategies for their proper withdrawal strategy and how it all is combined together, but they're really looking for tax planning, because that's where the biggest value or really the biggest return can come from. Our investment team, they're made of CFA charter holders. It's Tim, Luke, and Sean at Streamline. And they say, if you don't get the tax stuff right, then there's no investment performance that's going to make up for that. By the way, like I just mentioned, the team I'm talking about is at Streamline Financial. We've been helping people for many years get to this retirement and beyond. So if you need more than just investment management help, you can go to our website, click on the Get Started button, and then we can find a time to talk. But anyways, back to this recent conversation that I had with a couple. So they had retired. I'll try to draw a timeline here. And let me pull up the screen so you can see this. So retired in their late 60s, and they had stopped work just before. And right after work, they had started Social Security and a pension. And they had 3 of the 4 money pools that we were talking about. They had the brokerage account, they had the IRA, and they had the reserve fund, which is the fantastic fourth, which I'm going to go into in just a sec. And actually, I'll just go into it now. The reserve fund, I call it the fantastic fourth, but many people don't use it the right way. It's really a way to provide, it's kind of like a safety net. And it's made up of either savings account or money market account earning some interest. And then it could also be made up of laddered CDs with varying maturities. And the fund ideally should generate interest without any capital gains. That's the big thing. That's where we see the mistake sometimes, because that can allow you to really perform these opportunistic withdrawals, which we're going to get into for this couple, that can help lower taxes. And the two mistakes that I see people make in this reserve fund is they actually use the brokerage account as a reserve fund sometimes, and they put conservative assets in there, or conservative funds that aren't going up and down a lot, but they can still produce capital gains. And many of the holdings that we see in brokerage accounts are tax inefficient. So that means the owner of this can't control when they pay tax or when the gains are recognized. That's not ideal when you're doing a tax or going for a tax efficient withdrawal strategy. The other mistake that we see is just a reserve fund being at the bank and then earning 0% interest. There's a lot of options out there currently for really low risk or no risk almost, and higher interest rates. So that is just one of the other things we see sometimes. Now back to this couple, as they did their retirement projections on their own here, they realized that in a few years, about 6 years, they were going to have to be forced to take out of their IRAs, essentially, their pre-tax accounts. And it was a lot more than they needed to live on. They already had Social Security and pension going, and then they'd have to take out even more and pay tax on that amount. It's really something they wouldn't have to do if they planned a little bit differently. If we had met them just a little bit earlier, we would have designed a plan that would have been more about really holding off on Social Security maybe, and then thinking about Roth conversion strategy. But all is not lost here. As we were planning, we were finding out a few other things about their financial situation. So I want to share how we actually fixed the problem, not entirely, but in a big way, which meant quite a few dollars related to their back into their plan. And anyways, while we were thinking, if we could do this over again, the order of withdrawals would have looked a little bit different. We'd say start using that brokerage money, the taxable monies, right away to supplement income. And what this could do, both brokerage and reserve, that can actually allow them to pay 0% tax on the assets or the investments that had a high capital gain or a large gain in this brokerage account. And let me explain what I mean. So they wanted a income of about $7K coming into the bank every month. So the goal was, let's get $7K coming into the bank every month and turn their IRA into Roth IRA, Roth conversion, and also sell some of those high gain or those large gains that they have in the brokerage account at a 0% tax rate. So this is the part that blew my mind, or maybe hopefully it's blowing your mind. The key word here for this next section, I'm about to explain this, is taxable income. So withdrawing money from a brokerage account may or may not be taxable income. Withdrawing money from a reserve account, the cash or the different cash-like vehicles, usually is not taxable. And as of 2023, you may qualify for a 0% tax rate if your taxable income, again, keyword taxable income, is $44,000 and some change. I think it's $44,625. That's for filing single. Now, if you're married, the number is $89,250. So under this amount of taxable income, you may qualify for 0% tax on those gains, capital gains in your brokerage account. So consider a retiree with, let's say, $1 million in their taxable brokerage account, and then also $1 million in their, we'll say, IRA. And they need they've got $80,000 of living expenses a year. If all $80,000 is withdrawn from the IRA account, then all of that's going to be taxable income, and they're going to be in the 22% tax bracket. And that would not be the most tax efficient withdrawal strategy. However, if we included their reserve fund in the mix, they could fund part of their annual income requirement from these assets with no taxable consequence. So they could take the 44 or 80,000 from their IRA and spend it if they wanted to, or they could also move that money into a Roth IRA. There's really two options there. And this would still keep them in a relatively low tax bracket, which then enables them to use that taxable brokerage account, recognize the gains, possibly get that 0% tax rate. So this is done just by not anything, really it's just designing and diversifying where you're withdrawing money from and when you're withdrawing money from these accounts. Now, I'm excited by this. Between me and you, I might be the only one geeking out about this because I know the impact that it could have on your plan, but I've got more. I want to get into these next things that we looked at too. One of the benefits of thinking about this moving from Roth or moving from IRA to Roth, and also just reducing tax, all the things we're talking about, that could reduce future RMDs as well, because you're taking money out of this IRA, which is you're going to be forced to take out of come RMD age. But if you can get money out of the IRA, then that reduces how much you have to take out. Now, what about the couple that already started the pension and already started their Social Security up here? So they already had a pretty good income, taxable income coming from these places. It leaves us less room for the low tax brackets and the 0% capital gains rate, but they can still convert some. We're really running multiple scenarios, what if scenarios, to see what the right amount is to convert each year, and then just taking it year by year. One of the goals here is take a look and see what is your tax rate right now. You know, if it's 22% and you look at what would your tax rate be when you start RMDs and it's 24%, well, maybe it makes sense to convert some now. It really depends on everyone's unique situation. But there's more. We had another strategy, and it was because they are charitable and they wanted to continue to be charitable in retirement. So we ended up telling them to just stop giving. Now, we told them actually to stop giving their cash. Not stop giving, but we told them don't give out of cash flow, but instead we came up with a plan to keep their cash flow coming to them and instead use the dollars that they were going to be forced to take out of their IRA anyways, RMDs, and use those instead to go direct to the charity. That way, they don't have to pay tax on that money, and neither does the charity. So by doing that, they also satisfy the required minimum distribution when they get to that age. So that's really a win-win. That's a win all around. The only person who doesn't win is Uncle Sam. And if that's interesting to you, I'll include another video on the donor advised funds and strategy and what it is, just so you can get familiarized with what that is and how you might be able to use it. And really quickly here, again, with all of these things, anything tax related, get the right team to confirm you're doing it right, and get the right tax team as well, someone who knows taxes. But with the DAF strategy and giving your RMDs, you got to be 70 and a half to start that strategy. So they had a different giving strategy for the next 4 years, and then they were going to start that RMD strategy. So remember, it's not just about how much you have saved for retirement and what the allocation is. It's also how you're taking your money out and doing it in a tax optimized way. And I hope I didn't miss some of the drawings just the last few minutes here, but it's the money pools, RMD strategy, and 0% capital gains. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please click the like button and then subscribe so that you don't miss the next video next week. And then check out these videos too to make your retirement just a little bit better. Take care.